Imagine an ancient artifact, covered in gold, embodying the direct connection between the divine and humanity. An object so powerful that it was both revered and feared, jealously guarded by an ancient people, carried into battle to strike down enemies, and hidden in secret sacred places. This is the Ark of the Covenant, but what is it really? What secrets did it conceal within its golden walls? The tablets of the law received by Moses directly from God, or something even more mysterious? According to some legends, the Ark possessed a devastating power, capable of incinerating anyone who dared to approach without permission. But are these just legends? And most importantly, where did it go? Some believe it is buried beneath the sands of the desert, others that it lies beneath the temples of Jerusalem, or even that it is safeguarded in the heart of Africa. Its disappearance has given rise to countless theories, from historical to fantastical, captivating archaeologists, scholars, and adventurers for centuries. If the existence of the Ark of the Covenant is a mystery not easily answered, there are some questions worth exploring, as their answers could reshape our understanding of the past. For instance, what was the true purpose of the Ark of the Covenant? What if it was not merely a sacred or votive object, but something much older and more mysterious? Before we embark on this fascinating journey, as always, we invite you to subscribe to the channel to support our work and ensure you don't miss any new videos.
Make an ark of acacia wood, 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. Overlay it with pure gold, both inside and out, and make a gold molding around it.
These are the instructions Yahweh gave to Moses for the creation of the artifact that, according to tradition, would hold the tablets of the law. The stone tablets inscribed with the 10 Commandments, received by Moses on Mount Sinai directly from God. These tablets symbolize the sacred covenant between Yahweh and the people of Israel, making the Ark not only a precious container, but also a symbol of divine connection. But are we certain that the Ark of the Covenant served only this purpose? In fact, as we learn from ancient texts, the Ark possessed mysterious and, in some ways, uncontrollable powers. It is precisely these extraordinary abilities, along with the detailed descriptions of certain elements, that invite us to question its true purpose and use. The first question we need to address, however, is, where did the Ark of the Covenant go? And why has such a powerful and renowned symbol of divinity vanished without a trace? To understand what we're discussing, we need to take a step back and start from the beginning. As we learn from Yahweh's words in the book of Exodus, the Ark was not excessively large. It measured just over 1 meter and was carried by the Israelites through the desert on their shoulders, using 2 gold-covered wooden poles inserted into gold rings. Only the Levites, the priestly tribe, had the right and responsibility to handle this artifact, not only because it was considered sacred, but also because it was deemed extremely dangerous, even lethal, to anyone who touched it without proper reverence or preparation. During transport, the Ark was carefully covered with a takash skin, a mysterious creature mentioned in the Bible, whose true identity remains a mystery. When the Israelites stopped during their wanderings in the desert, the Ark was placed inside the tabernacle, a kind of mobile sanctuary. Only Aaron and his sons were permitted to approach the Ark for incense rituals, shielded by a curtain that hid them from the view of others. But this was not the Ark's only peculiar characteristic. During these stops, the Ark had to remain at least 1 kilometer away from the camp, a detail clearly stated in the Bible.
When you see the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord, your God, being carried by the Levitical priests, you shall set out from your place and follow it. But there shall be a distance of about 2,000 cubits between you and the Ark. Do not go near it, so that you may know the way you are to go, for you have not passed this way before.
With the Israelites' entry into the Promised Land, the power of the Ark became even more tangible. Under Joshua's leadership, the Ark went before the Israelite army, instilling fear in their enemies and contributing to their defeat. Its most famous feat? The fall of the walls of Jericho, which collapsed at the sound of trumpets as the Ark advanced triumphantly. Without it, defeat was almost certain. On one occasion, the ark was even captured by the Philistines, but it proved too powerful for them. After only 7 months, a devastating plague forced them to return it, acknowledging its destructive power. After numerous wanderings, the ark finally arrived in Jerusalem. There, King Solomon built the first temple around it, placing it in the Sancta Sanctorum, the most sacred and inaccessible space. But in 587 BCE, its earthly story came to an end with the destruction of the temple by the Babylonians. From that moment on, the ark vanished without a trace. So, what happened to the ark? Theories abound. Some believe it was hidden on Mount Nebo by the high priest Hilkiah and the prophet Jeremiah, where it will remain concealed until God's return. Others think it was taken to Samaria as spoils of war, but when the city was destroyed by the Assyrians, it may have been looted and transported to an unknown location in the Middle East. There is even a hypothesis that it reached Rome, hidden in the Basilica of St. John Lateran. Finally, there is the Ethiopian legend. In the 14th century, the Kebra Nagast recounts that Menelik, the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, took the ark from Jerusalem and transported it to Ethiopia. According to local tradition, it is still kept in a church there, where only a single monk, the guardian, is allowed to see it. Other accounts suggest that the ark was simply destroyed during one of the many plunders it suffered over the years. What we know for certain, if we exclude the possibility that it is preserved in Ethiopia, is that there is currently no trace of this extraordinary artifact. While it is true that we don't know its fate, by analyzing the descriptions and events narrated in ancient texts, we have a detailed account, not only of its appearance, but also of its extraordinary powers. At this point, we are about to delve into the most mysterious part of this story, a tale of an extraordinary artifact with surprising and devastating powers. As mentioned earlier, during the Israelites' stops in the desert, the ark had to be kept at a safe distance from the rest of the people for security reasons. Transporting it was no simple or safe task either. During one such transfer, Uzzah, one of Aaron's sons, noticed that the chest containing the ark was about to fall from the cart carrying it. He reached out his hand to stop it, but as soon as he touched it, he was instantly struck dead.
When they came to the threshing floor of Nacon, Uzzah reached out his hand to the ark of God and steadied it, because the oxen stumbled. But the Lord's anger burned against Uzzah. God struck him down there for his irreverence, and he died there beside the ark of God.
Anyone who came into contact with the ark without knowing how to handle it ended up dying. As we saw earlier, the Philistines, who had managed to seize it, were forced to return it because they were struck by a strange disease that caused painful swellings, resembling tumors.
Then the hand of the Lord was heavy on the inhabitants of Ashdod, and he devastated them, striking Ashdod and its surrounding territory with tumors. When the men of Ashdod saw what was happening, they said, "The ark of the God of Israel must not stay with us, because his hand is too heavy on us and on our god Dagon."
Even King David, who had witnessed the devastating powers of the ark and the death of Uzzah, initially refused to keep the ark and left it for 3 months in the house of Obed-Edom of Gath. During this time, Yahweh blessed the household of Obed-Edom, confirming that the ark, when treated with proper respect, brought blessings instead of calamities. Only then did David decide to bring it with him. At this point, it is fair to ask why all this happened. Why did Uzzah die instantly when he tried to perform an instinctive act aimed at protecting the precious artifact? If we set aside theological explanations, this act, along with many others, seems incomprehensible, unless we consider the idea that the ark was something different and more complex than we have imagined so far. One unusual fact we find in the testimonies of the Old Testament is the precise description Yahweh gives to Moses regarding how the ark should be built. Let's listen to it very carefully.
"They shall make an ark of acacia wood. It shall be 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. You shall overlay it with pure gold. Inside and out you shall overlay it, and you shall make a gold molding around it. You shall cast 4 gold rings for it, and fasten them to its 4 feet, 2 rings on one side, and 2 rings on the other side. You shall make poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. Insert the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark, to carry the ark with them. The poles are to remain in the rings of the ark. They shall not be removed. You shall put into the ark the testimony which I will give you. You shall make a cover of pure gold, 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide. You shall make 2 cherubim of gold. You shall make them of hammered work at the 2 ends of the cover. Make 1 cherub at one end and the other cherub at the other end. You shall make the cherubim of one piece with the cover at its 2 ends. The cherubim are to have their wings spread upward, overshadowing the cover with their wings. They shall face each other with their faces toward the cover. Place the cover on top of the ark and put into the ark the testimony that I will give you. There I will meet with you, and from above the cover, between the 2 cherubim that are on the ark of the testimony, I will speak to you about all that I will command you concerning the Israelites.
Yahweh provides very precise and detailed instructions, such as explaining that the ark must be carried using 2 wooden poles inserted into rings placed on its sides. These are not merely ornamental details, but functional ones. For example, in the episode where Uzzah lost his life, the men had not followed Yahweh's instructions for transporting the ark. On that occasion, they placed the ark on a cart instead of carrying it on their shoulders with the wooden poles, as Yahweh had commanded. This might seem like a minor detail, but as we will see later, if we attribute a different purpose to the ark than what is derived from biblical exegesis, everything begins to make logical sense. One very interesting hypothesis is the one proposed by Rabbi Moshe Levin, who suggested that the ark might have been a kind of electrical capacitor. According to this theory, the ark was not merely a sacred object, but also a technological device capable of accumulating and releasing energy. The ark, with its internal and external gold plating and the insulating wood between the 2 surfaces, could indeed function as a capacitor capable of storing an electric charge. Gold, being an excellent conductor, would have facilitated the passage and storage of energy. The 2 cherubim on the ark's cover, with their wings spread and facing toward the center, might have served as the capacitor's terminals. Between their wings, one might imagine an electrical arc forming, a visible manifestation of the stored energy. Supporting this hypothesis, some biblical accounts describe flashes of lightning, thunder, or divine manifestations of energy between the cherubim on the ark, which could be interpreted as electrical discharges. According to this theory, anyone who touched the ark without proper precautions risked receiving a lethal electric shock, much like what happened to Uzzah. Another curious aspect is that the Levites, the priests tasked with handling the ark, wore special garments. Some have speculated that these ritual garments may have served a protective purpose against electrostatic discharges.
You shall make holy garments for your brother Aaron, for glory and for beauty. You shall speak to all the skilled artisans whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, and they shall make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, so that he may serve me as priest. These are the garments they shall make: a breastpiece, an ephod, a robe, a woven tunic, a turban, and a sash. They shall make holy garments for your brother Aaron and his sons, so that they may serve me as priests.
At this point, it is inevitable to wonder whether this energy capacitor could have also been used as a weapon. We know that during battles, the Ark of the Covenant was brought to the front lines. However, it remains uncertain whether its purpose was purely intimidatory, leveraging the fame of its extraordinary abilities, or if it played an active role in the confrontations. Those who support the hypothesis that the Ark could have been used as a weapon often cite the episode of the fall of the walls of Jericho as an example. The city was under siege by the Israelites, and for 7 consecutive days, the Ark was carried in a procession around its walls, accompanied by the sound of trumpets. On the 7th day, after completing the final circuit, the army, preceded once again by the Ark, shouted with all its might. At that moment, the walls of Jericho collapsed. Although there is no direct reference to the Ark as a physical instrument of destruction, many interpret this episode as evidence of its power, suggesting that its presence played a crucial role in facilitating divine intervention.
The Lord said to Joshua, "See, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its king and its mighty warriors. All you men of war shall march around the city, circling the city once. Do this for 6 days. 7 priests shall carry 7 ram's horn trumpets in front of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. When they sound a long blast on the ram's horn, and you hear the trumpet sound, all the people shall give a loud shout. Then the wall of the city will collapse, and the people will go up, each straight in."
Another peculiar episode occurred when a group of 250 leaders challenged Moses' authority over the Israelite people. Moses, undeterred by this uprising, declared that Yahweh would decide his fate. He instructed the rebels to present themselves the following day in front of the tent of meeting, the place where he regularly met with Yahweh. The next day, when the men gathered in front of the tent, they were suddenly swallowed up by a chasm that opened in the ground. Although the ark is not directly mentioned in this episode, it is curious to note that Moses instructed the men to present themselves at the very place where he would meet with Yahweh. And whenever Moses met with Yahweh, it was always in the presence of the ark. This detail introduces another very intriguing hypothesis, suggesting a potential practical use for the Ark of the Covenant. If you recall earlier, we shared the direct testimony of Yahweh's words, in which he gave Moses precise instructions on how to construct the ark. But Yahweh also gave another specific directive.
"You shall put the cover on the ark, and inside the ark you shall place the testimony that I will give you. There I will meet with you. I will speak with you from above the cover between the 2 cherubim that are on the ark of the testimony, and I will tell you all the commands you are to give to the Israelites."
This statement is quite intriguing. Yahweh seems to be telling Moses that the object he is commanding him to construct will serve as a means for direct communication with him. The ark, therefore, appears to be a tool through which Yahweh and Moses can establish direct communication. But why would a divine being need a physical object to communicate with Moses? Clearly, we don't know the answer, but the words recorded in the text seem to leave little room for doubt. To recap, we can say that Yahweh gave Moses very specific instructions for creating an object with features that had to be adhered to with precision. Features that seem to have little to do with a ceremonial artifact, and more with a device designed to perform specific functions. We also know that this object was very dangerous. Only individuals who were thoroughly familiar with its peculiarities could handle it. Mishandling it led to immediate death, as in the case of Uzzah, or to a slow and painful demise, as with the Philistines. Additionally, according to ancient writings, this tool was instrumental in enabling Moses to communicate with Yahweh. The description of the materials used and the way it was constructed further suggests that this device could accumulate energy, functioning like a powerful electrical capacitor. We can therefore hypothesize that the Ark of the Covenant had at least a dual function, as a weapon and as a communication device. What seems to link these two functions is a structure that, at its core, allowed it to accumulate energy. Energy that could either power a communication system or strike people with powerful electrical discharges. Clearly, these hypotheses sound incredible, but let's take a moment to entertain the idea that these extraordinary claims are true, or at least partially true. If we accept this, numerous questions arise. How could a still primitive people possess such sophisticated technology? According to some theorists, the Egyptians had advanced knowledge of electricity, as evidenced by the bas-reliefs found in the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. These bas-reliefs, interpreted by some as depictions of technological devices, appear to show what we would today call Crookes tubes, a type of vacuum glass tube with 3 electrodes, an anode and 2 cathodes. This suggests the use of advanced technology that could have preceded modern discoveries and might answer another question. Why was the technology present in the Ark of the Covenant no longer used? Perhaps because the knowledge was lost, and once the machine was destroyed or damaged, no one could repair it. So, who was Yahweh? A divine being who provided Moses with a tool to use in his absence? Or did Moses and his close circle of associates possess advanced technological knowledge inherited from the ancient Egyptian priests which they used to lead the people? It is clear that this analysis sets aside the biblical exegesis carried out by theologians, who view the Ark as a visible sign of the covenant between God and Israel. It was called the Ark of the Covenant because it contained the tablets of the law. The tablets symbolized God's commitment to protecting Israel while reminding the Israelites of their obligations to God. In its very disappearance, some theologians see a sign that Israel had broken its covenant with God, leading to the destruction of the temple and the Babylonian exile. Others interpret its disappearance as a symbol of future hope for restoration and the ultimate fulfillment of salvation in Christ. What we can say is that, whether for theologians or for those who approach the study of these ancient texts from a secular perspective, the Ark of the Covenant is not considered a mere relic or votive object, but something much more complex and powerful. This is why, over the years, historians and archaeologists, and even kings and government officials, have funded the search for the Ark of the Covenant. Some claim to have come very close to its discovery, while others assert they know its location. But that is another fascinating story we can explore together if you wish. For now, we'll stop here. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this marvelous and mysterious object in the comments. If you enjoyed the video and would like to support our work, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until the next story.